Happy Saturday. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday, guys. It's your girl, Amanda Miller with 105.7 The Face, and I just wanted to jump on here with you very quickly. At our usual 7 o'clock time, we have been missing from you guys for some time now, but we are definitely on here today. Thank you, guys, for tuning in. We are going to give some people time to come in the room every Sunday, 7 o'clock. If we are not here, definitely we will always. Hold on, trying to bring on my co host. Hey, girl.
Hey.
Oh, child. I don't know what happened to my other phone. Like, it has just disappeared. And so I just got to find it. And so I was like, okay, I'm not going to worry. The devil ain't gonna be busy today. I'm
Not
just gonna
today.
jump on and we gonna flow, right?
No. But say Dev can't be busy. Not today. Too much.
Oh yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So what I decided, I'll just I know one of our followers had reached out last week and was like, hey, haven't seen you guys, everything's good. And that's when I was going through my phase of being sick. So I felt like we needed to be here since somebody did reach out as opposed to Facebook. And then what I'll do, I'll just post this on Facebook
Yeah.
because I can always post it on Facebook. But happy Sunday.
Happy
Thank you.
Sunday.
Happy. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to give people time to come in the room. So, guys, y'all just make sure y'all be patient as we allow people to come on. I wanted to talk about today a mixture of things, but it all intertwines and relates, right?
We love a smorgasbord.
Right, right. Guys, make sure you are engaged. Hey, Lock Dog, thank you for following. Thank you for joining. I love everything that you're doing. You make sure you don't forget about us now. Talk
Oh,
About Queens needs to be on the movement with all of that you got going on. So wherever and however you can plug us in, make
you
sure
will
you
be
do
there.
that. Right? Absolutely, plug us in. So I wanted to talk about, like, the other day I posted something about diversity
Okay.
and engaging in a diverse environment, and for us, because we always say that well, I'm not even gonna say other ethnicities, white, Caucasians. We're always saying that in our presence, depending on the setting,
Hmm.
that they're always a little, uh, it's awkward for them or they're uncomfortable and things of that nature. But I wanted to do a little twist on that and say, so is it that we are or can be that way sometimes as well, depending upon the setting? I think that especially when we talk about, like, we say that they're uncomfortable and rigid in an outside environment, but I think we could be that way in a business setting environment. Like, I think we can get a little intimidated or uncomfortable with the way that we interact or articulate ourselves to Caucasians in order to be able to sit at that same table and have a really um, healthy dialogue discussion where they can understand us, partner with us, and we can be successful in their environment. What's your thoughts?
I feel like sometimes, like you said, it is situational, cause and comfort based. So for me, um, anytime I'm pushed into a professional setting where I had no idea the setting could even be it was never in my thought process, it was never in my purview, then that is intimidating because I'm not prepared for myself. And I prefer anything that has my name on it, anything that has my image behind it, that I be prepared.
Right.
But I will say, if prepared or knowledgeable, then yeah, for me, it isn't that way. I wonder sometimes for the people who are like that, is it, how you have test anxiety? I
Mhm.
wonder,
Mhm.
is it that type of anxiety that is creating this feeling of inadequacy? Because at the end of the day, that's kind of what it is. It's a personal feeling of inadequacy
Right.
and discomfort when it shouldn't be, but it is. So I wonder if it's that type of that level of anxiety that they're facing. You know what I mean?
Right. And then I'm wondering, why is it that inadequacy? Because here's what I learned in that space. And Boss Lady Lava, thank you. And guys, please engage. That's what we're here for. We want you guys to engage. Give us your thoughts on what you're feeling, especially Lock Dog. If you're still here, I know that you have a big platform now, and you're sitting in these rooms, coming from gangs, coming from the streets, coming from the music rap industry, but now you're sitting in rooms with execs. I wonder how that feels for you. And Boss Lady Lava, you said some of us will go in the room and still be there, and that's what I'm saying, right? So people say, "Come and be your authentic self." I do not believe that's what they say it, but I don't really truly say that's what they want. I say to people all the time, and I learned this from one of my mentors: be your authentic self with a twist of professionalism. And you are absolutely right, Boss Lady Lava. We tend to think that we can still go in these rooms and be truly, truly who we are, when really and truly, we really can't. Um, I learned from the trip that we were on, somebody said, when you're in the same setting as other ethnicities and they see you as alike, because we had an amazing time, cards, drinks, laughter, jokes, amazing time, and people really let their hair down, and someone said afterwards, when we can build trust in their environment, and they in the same setting as them, and they can build trust with us, they seem to accept us more. And I never thought about that. What do you think?
I have this in between feeling about
Okay.
it because I understand what you're saying. I do. I believe in what you're saying, and I do what you're saying. Um, but there is a level of self awareness that you have to do it, because there is a code switch that you have to be able to do.
Like pretty much
And
like she's saying,
in
it really depends on the setting. Go ahead.
in that, there is a conforming to societal norms in there that you have to accept as well.
Mhm.
And I feel like, how do I say this without sounding and causing an issue?
But just come on with it. You know, we unapologetically real on here.
The pick a nigga shit gotta stop, bro. Like it has
The
to.
what now?
The pick a nigga shit gotta stop. Like it
Okay.
just has to. Like it has to, because at the end of the day, we aren't asking white people to be less racist. We're not asking white people to be less judgmental. We're not asking any other type of person to change who they are, or change their vernacular, or change their dialect just to make somebody else comfortable. I don't speak this way at work. I don't, and it's because I know there's a conscious bias that sits in my mind that says, okay, if I speak the way that I speak at home with my
Mhm.
friends, with the
Mhm.
family, if I'm just out here chilling, if I speak this way in this office,
Mhm.
despite the fact that I can market circles around y'all,
Mhm.
despite the fact that I
Mhm.
actually have a post to what's going on in my division, despite the fact that my networking skills are top tier, despite the fact that I have more connections than you do, despite all of that, because of how I sound, you're going to think less of.
Absolutely.
And
I tell people all the time that have this, African American people that have this their voice tone, the way that they speak in a manner that connects with Caucasians.
mm,
Me, I just have a raspy voice anyways. That didn't change in the
yeah,
setting. Now, my articulation of my verbiage and my words, of course, I don't speak slang, but I just have a voice tone that I'm just African American anyways, regardless if you hear me on the phone, right? If you hear me on the phone, whether you hear me in a conference room, I just have one of those African American voices where there are some African Americans that just have a voice that sounds
My voice,
absolutely.
I'm about to say,
So
my voice is racially ambiguous.
absolutely.
People have called my grandma's house and had no
Mm-hmm.
absolute clue who it was on the phone. I've booked doctor's appointments, and because of how I sounded on the phone, I've gone to fill out my information, and they've already put that I'm Caucasian, and I'm like, no,
Right,
that's not the case.
right,
I
right.
just speak well. That's all.
So,
that's
boss lady,
that's
I
it.
would say if I'm in a business meeting, I'm going to act accordingly. If I'm at a party with my different ethnicities, then I can truly be myself because everybody's truly letting their hair down. Absolutely. So we have to know what those situations.
Are when are they appropriate?
That's right. Right. So, boss lady Lava, that's what we're talking about. We are talking about pretty much. Um, what does that look like for us in a diverse environment? And I wanted to kind of how we setting ourselves for success. Um, I saw, and I forget her name. That's
Getting a
on
mentor and becoming very proficient in code switching. Honestly, that's really it.
right. I saw somebody
Because
on here that I wanted to Miss Nikki Baby, and I don't know if she's still on here. Miss Nikki Baby have one of those voices, and I tell her that I used to be her team lead. She has one of those voices that no matter what, she sounds like them.
mm,
And I'm like, wow, like you really sound like them. And my girlfriend always told me, she says, you speak like them. I say, my words, I speak like them. My voice,
and my
I
tone
sound like us.
are not the same. Right.
Absolutely. That's right. Absolutely. And that's the
hmm
difference, right? So I was saying on the video, like, I didn't want people to get me wrong to say that, like, or get the feeling that I am omitting the fact of everything that we as a people have gone through. Like, I'm just saying, oh, we need to side with them and we just
Yeah.
need to get over it. No, that's not what I was saying because I do want people to truly know that I understand um, systemic racism. I get it that it exists. I get that racism exists. I get that some people still truly don't connect with us. I get that some ethnicities feel really uncomfortable, especially Caucasians, are around us in certain settings, especially out on the street. I get that. And I truly believe that. But I used to believe that more than I believe it, but I still don't buy into the narrative as much now, only because of the things that we do to each other. And that's why I said that about the plot, the twist in conversation.
Mm,
Like we do so much to one another
mm,
outside of them, right?
mm.
So here's what we do. I'm gonna let you speak.
Mm.
Here's what we do. They do
No,
some
I'm
of the
trying to make sure
same.
I understand
They do some of the
for us.
same stuff we do, as it relates to fraud, crimes, scams. But they scam the system. We be too busy trying to scam each other. They do some of the same stuff that we do as far as and I don't even know if there's a number of the way that, and I know that exists, but I our African American men do so much to our African American women when it comes down to not even just cheating, but just trying to manipulate us, trying to get over. And I know it's a white man's game, to try, because we got all these movies to try to, what do you call it, swindle women out of money. But
hmm
guess what? They always trying to swindle the high dollar woman. We, as African American men, we don't care who we trying to swindle the dollar out of. We don't care how it impacts our culture, our society. We just out for self. And also, we're always in the midst of robbing and stealing and killing one another. And that's
Oh
why I
God.
don't buy it.
That's where I gotta throw the flag out. Do
Come
you know the
on, come on.
statistics? Do you know the statistics for, because this term irritates my soul. Black on black crime, the term irritates my entire soul. To the T of me. Because black on black crime is not a thing. Proximity crime is a thing. But black on black crime is not a thing. White on white crime is not a thing. Hispanic on Spanish crime is not a thing. Asian on Asian. It's not a thing. It's proximity crime. 9 times out of 10, you are going to commit crimes, any type of crimes, to the people that you live closest to. Not many people is out here just being adamant about giving it to any and everybody far and
But
far
we
distances
are,
away.
because here's
That's
what I
not
want
a
to say.
thing. That's not
Let me say
that's
this.
not a thing.
It
Hold
is a
on.
thing,
I'll let
but
you
guess
finish
what?
your
You
point.
don't.
I'll let you
Okay, you're
finish
right.
your
Go
point
ahead.
though.
Go ahead. I'm gonna make a point to you. I'm gonna make a point to you. Go ahead.
But to sit here, am I saying that African Americans, and I'm saying that people of the diaspora don't do things to each other? No, that's
Okay.
not what I'm
Well,
saying.
that's what I was
Because
about to say.
people,
All right.
that's
You
not what I'm
cleared it
saying.
up.
No, that's not what
Okay.
I'm saying. I'm not saying
Okay.
that doesn't happen. What I am saying is that happens across the entire spectrum. White people do white people wrong. Asian people do
And
Asian
that's
people wrong.
true.
Hispanic people do Hispanic people wrong.
That's true.
Black people do Hispanic. Like that's why I say that the term proximity crime is actually the reality of it all,
And it is.
because you do things to the people and the cultures that you know, because you know those things. I can't go into an environment that is predominantly Caucasian if I do not know the Caucasian experience. I do not know the culture
But
that
you
I'm in. I do
can.
not know the avenue that I'm at. More often than not, that is how people get caught.
But
Most people don't
if
get
you
caught when they're
truly,
sitting
but
here
they
committing,
ain't marching.
unless
They're
you
not marching.
they're
We
not,
marching.
because they're
Those
sitting
people are
here.
not out there literally with these signs talking about black Black Lives Matter or whatever lives matter. We are the ones out there marching saying that, but yet we're the ones
But
doing the things that we do.
when are we the ones out there marching there saying that? Are we the ones out there marching there saying that when we're killing each other? Or are we the ones out here saying that when somebody of power, regardless of the color of their skin, is killing someone that is underneath them? More often than not, when you see people out there with these signs, it's not just because, oh, a white person came into a community and then da 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 da. That's normally not the case. It is the case that a powerful figure who is over our community has decided to subjugate and decided to say that you are less than, and I'm not going to protect, serve, or care about you like I care about other people.
Absolutely.
More often than not,
But we should.
if it is a
And you're right,
if it
but
is
we
a black
should.
officer that shoots a black
Right.
person, them people is still in the street. If it's a white person that shoots a black person, then people is still in the street. But if justice is actually served, more often than not, nobody is in the street, because just the system did what it was supposed to do. People get in the street when the system decides to say, F a black person because you are that way. Not even a black person, F a minority because you are that way. And
And but
that's not
it
right.
shouldn't. But it shouldn't be that way. You're absolutely right, and I agree. But it shouldn't. When my nephew got killed,
Anytime somebody shoots and kills on
when my
somebody, it should be
nephew
a
got
bad thing.
killed, I'm gonna put it on that murdered at that, not just killed but murdered.
But
At
he
the
was
end of the
murdered.
day, he's no less than anybody that got shot by the police. Ain't nobody marching for him. Ain't
Because
nobody
he
got no
actually got
flags
some
out there
type
for
of
him.
justice. Because he actually got some type of justice. Let's not sit here
Where
and act like the person who
where's his
murdered him.
just where's his
Let's not sit
justice?
here and act like the person who murdered him ain't sitting there locked up. Let's not
But you
act like he didn't get
gotta know the
arrested. Because half
story.
these people,
He's locked
that sit
up
here
for
and do all that,
now. He's locked up
and
for
that, but
now.
there was some type of accountability. In some cases, that's never a thing. Am I saying that what happened to my cousin is right? No. God, no. And I hope to God that the dude that got locked up stays under the prison for the
But you
rest of
want,
his
but
life.
if we
But
continue in this
if
lane,
he
if we
even
continue, wait, let me say this. If we continue in this lane of what people are always doing, just like they did with the man, and that's why I say I don't buy it, because black and white, just like with the white man who just killed the 18 people in Maine, you want to jump on this bandwagon now about mental health. Same way they want to jump on this bandwagon at the court about this man who killed my nephew, mental health. You can't keep saying mental health when people choose
don't
as
get
a
mad at the
choice to
people,
go
get
out here
mad
and
at the
kill people.
don't get mad at the people get mad at the system that only wants to sit here and care about buzzwords when they have an election coming up. Don't sit here and get mad at the people. Get mad at the people who aren't doing the jobs to protect the people out there.
Girl,
don't get mad at the
people,
don't get mad
these
at
are
the
people's
don't get
choices.
mad at the effect. Be mad at the cause. Because at the end of the day, the cause is the problem, not the effect.
Here's the thing. I still say, and it's just me, and I get it. Let Boss Lady Lava say, no, you're right. Alpha black person is majority of a black person.
It is. And I'm not saying that it's not. What I'm saying is
We
be mad. And we're going to be mad at something, be mad at the actual cause. Don't be mad at the effect, because the effect is going to happen either way. Be mad at the cause. Change the cause. Work at the cause. But
the
don't
cause
sit here
needs
and
to
be
be
like,
well rounded.
but
We
just because
gotta
we're
stop
black people, I should care about just black. Like, I should just care about when black on black crime happens. But when white on black crime happens, we shouldn't be out there either, because no one's out there with black on black. That makes no sense.
What I'm saying
That makes no sense.
What I'm saying is we do fucked up stuff to each other. And then soon as the white folks do stuff, we are the ones jumping on the bandwagon all the time. That's all I'm saying. We never hold us accountable for the stuff that we do to one another. Never.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't believe that. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean that it's not a thing. And that's what I hate about this new social media age. Everybody want to jump on, but when somebody does something in a small area or holds somebody accountable one-on-one, nobody talks about that.
That's my point. Nobody talks about it. Absolutely, my point.
Be talked about to be real. It doesn't have to be talked about to be sufficient. Just because you don't know about it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
I never said it didn't exist.
There's a whole
said it didn't exist. No. I never didn't say it didn't exist. What I said was we need to make the same noise. That's what I said. I didn't say it didn't exist. I'm saying we need to make the same noise in our own community when we're doing things to each other. That's what I'm saying. We need to start exposing people that do the same things. When we're seeing things that we know aren't right, we need to expose those same people. The same way we get on the news and expose people, the same, the white man or whomever else that didn't do us right, when we're in our inner cities and we know these ain't doing us right, we need to get out there and do those same marches. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. What I'm saying is we need to stop sweeping that junk under the rug.
But more often than not, that stuff isn't swept under the rug. That stuff isn't picked up by the news, by the national news and agencies. That has nothing to do with what
somebody.
We don't do.
We ain't got to wait for the news. We're in our own communities.
Nobody's saying that. It's even, matter of fact, I'll bring this comparison. When a little white girl goes missing, we know about it how quick. How quickly is that on national news? When a little white girl goes missing, more often than not, that's on national news within 2-3 hours. National news. Little white girl, blonde hair, blue eyes. When a little black girl goes missing, who cares? How often?
But we should. That's my point.
Hold on. I'm saying, how quickly is that on national news?
Right.
It's not.
And you're right.
You have people who are in the communities that are people looking like us, looking for this little girl, caring about this little girl.
Girl, they care about it, but ain't nobody out nowhere looking for nobody.
I'm sorry,
what they're doing is
a little girl who was missing down here in Macon, and I sure enough remember a good chunk of people putting posters everywhere, people sitting here downtown looking for this girl in groups and packs. I'm sorry, just because they don't do it up there all the time, don't mean that it doesn't. And that's what I'm saying.
I'm not saying it doesn't exist.
Doesn't mean it doesn't happen. And when it does happen, we need to find those little pockets and push those forward on our own account. I agree with that.
And that's what I'm saying.
We're saying some of the same things. What I'm saying is we need to look at the cause so we can actually do the effect. And I feel like what you're saying is after I feel like, if I'm correct,
go ahead.
Please let me know. And I feel like what you're saying is cause and effect either way, but once the effect hits, that's when we need to care as well. I'm saying try to focus on the one before the other even happens. And I feel like you're saying when the other happens, we should publicize that either way. And we as a community should make sure that that's
whether black, white, green, or yellow, we should care. And we should not always be waiting like Boss Lady Lava. She's constantly on her IG, her social media, promoting inner circle violence in our community. She's made a movement centered around it. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying we need to wait on the news to do anything for us. What I'm saying is we need to create our own movements, because if people aren't doing that for us in the news media, how quick, how fast, which we always got our own BS going on anyways, then we're waiting on somebody to hold our hands and publicize what we need to. But we already know, as you stated, people aren't quick to jump on board to anything that happens in our community. But where are we? We too busy worried about the things that doesn't matter, because it has not impacted and touched our homes or our communities. I go back to say, you're right. People are tend to do crimes that they're closest to. But when your mindset is so petty that you're gonna go rob and kill the neighborhood drug dealer when you can, but you scared to run up in somebody else's bank. That's the kind of stuff I'm saying. The white man will take the time to run up in somebody's bank all day long. But what we're gonna do, we're gonna do all this mess that we can do to one another. We're gonna try to beat men are gonna try to beat women out of money. Women gonna try to get over on men when it comes down to money. We're going to try to rob the next man that we think has the bag. We're always trying to get people to scam into this Cash App foolishness. We're always trying to get people to do the next best fraud foolishness that we do. I'm not even talking about the policemen and all the killings and all of that stuff. I'm talking about this shit so big beyond that. We are a culture that's always trying to get over on each other, but we always got our finger pointed at the next man. That's what I'm saying.
But I have a question. Statistically, like, let me say this the right way. Everything that you just said that we do as African Americans are done to every single race within each other's race. It's not just African Americans.
I believe that.
My question is, granted, we should care, this conversation should be amongst African Americans in general. My question is, sorry, don't know why my phone is deciding to crap. Why is it?
Are you good?
Why is it that do you think that African Americans, because a lot of these crimes that we're talking about between African Americans to African Americans don't get reported as much? They don't. Why do you think?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Why do you think that is?
Well, Lava asked that question. Do we think that white people, black people? Where was her question? Black people. Do you think that we have a black people? Do you think we have a black people
scared to speak out about the crimes white people do? No, because I'm a part of this is black people having a lot to say about the crimes that white people do. What I'm not
I think
is
what
I see happening on a national scale is everybody wants to compare and contrast, but nobody wants to talk about the commonalities of the two, because all of these crimes are done by people across the spectrum.
I believe
it's not just us committing these crimes.
Right.
It's not just white people committing these crimes. It's not, hell, there have been black bank robbers. There have been there have been black serial killers. Like these things exist. There is no white man crime and a black man crime, but there is white man time and black people time and black man time.
And all of those two things that. But exist. What I'm saying is we, because that's what I am, African American, we, so I speak in my language and what I see, we be so quick to point the finger is what I'm saying.
We be so quick to point the finger out
when
loud.
Are we holding ownership and accountability?
When are we? Okay.
for our own, for the things that we do.
Because I feel like it happens more than it's actually talked about. And that's where my whole thing is. Just because it's not talked about doesn't mean that it's not done. Just because on a national level, we're not sitting here holding a national Black caucus to say, hey, I was about to say, let me stop. Let's just say, hey, over there, I need you to get your together. Doesn't mean that these things aren't being done and aren't being said and aren't being held accountable and aren't being checked. Like, it does not mean that those things aren't happening. Just because we don't hear about it, just because we don't see it, just because I don't hear about a reckoning in California doesn't mean that it's not happening. There is a whole, I think it's Kentucky, or one of them Midwestern states, where a group of officers killed a man, like because they mistakenly killed a man, found out they was wrong, and kept doing it anyway. And when I tell you, not only did other ethnicities come out, but every single person that was African American, Democratic or Republican in that state, came out and condemned those people's actions, and nobody was white. Every single officer was of African American descent or of Hispanic descent. Like, every single one did this to another African American man. And at this point, because it wasn't publicized, it wasn't really talked about. The only reason I knew about it is because I pay attention to the Black Information Network, and that's another sub question. How many of us is actually paying attention to the news that has to do with us? We want to talk about, oh, but I don't hear you talking this one, and I don't hear you talking about that one. Do you listen to it? Do you attempt to come in and be the change? Do you attempt to come
But
in and
that's
know
my
what's going
point.
on as well?
Absolutely.
But I'm
Like a
saying,
person
do
like
you?
Lava. And my point, like a person like Lava. When are we stepping up to take accountability and own it and make the change? But we're steady the ones pointing fingers. My point.
But that's not okay. I feel
When,
like it's in circles
no, I think
because
we're saying the same thing, but I think
yeah, that's what
sometimes
I'm saying.
with
I feel
people,
like
like,
it's
this is
circles
what
and
I
just
tell my mom.
repeating.
We be saying the same things, but she's not listening. She's listening to speak as opposed to comprehend it. So I be saying, Mom, but we're saying the same thing.
And that's what I'm saying.
We're just saying
That's
it
why I say I feel like
different.
we're going in circles because we're saying different things. We're saying the same thing differently. That's I feel like we're
Absolutely.
going in circles because
Absolutely.
we're both putting the point of
Absolutely.
what each other are saying to the point. But my whole thing is because we also talked about how do we fix these things. A resolute would be us investing in each other, in us investing in the Black dollar more, us investing in the Black information more, us investing in our communities a lot more. Because as much as people, and I know this is about to sound backward as hell, as much as people fought for segregation, it was the worst thing that happened to the African American community, in my opinion, and ain't nobody gonna change that. Because before that, we kept our community together, we kept our community consistent, we kept caring about one another. The moment that we decided that we wanted, the moment that separate but equal got abolished and all these things, and we started having to lean into the white dollar and lean into the white aesthetic and lean into, the more we had to start doing that, the less and less and less and less we cared about us, and the less and less and less, and the more and more and more the system got power of what we were doing. Because if anybody were to sit here and read the Constitution, the fact that these elected officials are telling us what to do and we're not telling them what to do is completely ass backwards from what it was meant to be. We have done a disservice to ourselves not staying within our own communities.
Right.
With that
Right.
being said, to find this resolute and to find a way to get back, yes, we have to hold each other accountable. Yes, we have to make sure that we're caring about our communities. But we also need to, since we forced ourselves into this society, we also have to check those pockets too. We have
Right,
to
but
make
we
sure
have to start
that we
local,
have that. Oh no,
local,
I
state,
100% agree.
nation. So we have to start local and start our way up to make a noise and make a difference.
But what that
Let me do
isn't
this right
local.
quick. I'm just hopping on. What is the topic? So
Oh,
J Mill 2014. We are talking about internet.
it has got to be. It has become so. Because this is not
So
how it
in the
started.
nutshell, we are talking about black on black crime. Do we
Proximity crime.
proximity crime? Do we take care? Do we hone in on making a difference in our own community before we start pointing the fingers at others. I see Lava say yes, because back in slavery, we had to stick together as Black people before we were let go free.
Even before, even after slavery, during Reconstruction, during Jim Crow, during the segregation, during the 1960s movement, during all of that, for the most part, we stayed within our own communities. We stayed keeping ourselves and checking on ourselves and really building our own dollar and our own wealth. Hell, Black Wall Street doesn't exist today because we did that. We have to, and when you said before we start going, we have to care about local first and then national. Yes, but local affects national. Local,
Absolutely.
paying
So
attention
that's
to
why we have to start
who
local,
are
so that
paying attention to who our
it
city.
trickles upward.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Paying attention to who our city
Mm-hmm.
councils are, our mayors, the people who make up the electoral college. Because again, if y'all sat here and paid attention in civics class, you would know that more often than not, yes, your vote matters to a certain extent, but that electoral college can swing either way. I personally think the electoral college should be abolished at this point, but that's just me. But we have to start paying attention to what's happening in the day-to-day close in our own areas, and double on that, we have to pay attention to what's going on in our own areas globally as well. So we have to care about, I here in Macon need to care about what's going on in Atlanta, what's going on in Savannah, what's going on in Locust Grove, what's going on in what's the city in Texas, Dallas. And I have to care about African American communities, not just my own, but the ones that encompass me, the ones that encompass them. We have to start caring about the African American community as a whole. For all of our voices to get
I
some
want
sort
to
of
ask you this
consensus.
question, because I don't want to, because my topic, I didn't want to be on legislation, although it matters, and you're right. I want to ask this question to the audience and you as well. When we speak of our community, are you saying that, but well, maybe you did, because you said it in the beginning. We're just saying it in a different way, because I still ask it. Are you saying that we don't do as much? Because that's what I was talking about. I'm not saying other ethnicities don't do stuff in their communities, that it doesn't exist. Never stated that. I believe that. But what I'm saying, as us, Black people, we do the most to one another. Are you saying that don't happen?
What I said in the beginning and what I said now are the same. I'm not saying that we don't, but I'm saying that we do just about as much to each other as other ethnicities do to each other as well. I'm not saying we don't do anything to each other. I'm not saying we don't do the most harm to each other. That's not what I'm saying.
Because we do.
I'm saying that goes according to, that goes across the
Right.
spectrum.
And I
so it's not
that.
just a.
I
It's
believe
not.
that.
It's a murderer can't call out another murderer. You can't. Like it's ridiculous to do so. A rapist can't call out another rapist. It's ridiculous to do so. When one is doing just as bad as the other, you cannot sit here and be like, oh well,
So
I murdered
you're
two people
believing
less than you.
that,
Like, my dude, you're still a mass murderer. What?
So you believe that happens more or equally in other people's community than ours? Now, I'm not saying it don't happen, but you're saying you believe
hear about what happens to us more. White people hear about what happens to them more. Hispanic people hear about what happens to them more. Indigenous people hear about what happens to them more, because we're in our own pockets already. We're going to hear about what happens to us. I know more about crimes that happen in Macon than I know in Atlanta.
It ain't even about hearing it. Check the jails.
That's a legislation.
You got to hear it from
trickles
nowhere.
Into legislation. That trickles into legislation as a whole. Because one person two people can do the exact same crime and they get completely different times because of the way that they look and because of the way the system is set up to be against most people who are of non-minority descent. So of non-majority descent. So that's a mute point to me, because you can sit here and one white boy had the same amount of weed as a black boy, but that little black boy got a felony count and that little white boy walking around paying a fine. So that's not something that needs. We're not gonna try to get into legislation.
So we'll have to agree to disagree on that one, because I do believe that they don't get the same crime punishment as us. I do believe that, but I also believe There's no way possible. We're sitting on here believing that white folks do more stuff than what we do. We constantly do stuff. We're forever doing things that diminish our community. We're forever doing things to one another that land us where we are.
So when the U.S. government decides to put crack in Black Americans, oh Lord, in Black Americans' homes and all of that, nobody wants to sit there and pay any attention to that. But when a Black man decides that, okay, so y'all already put crack in there, let me sit here and get up a buck and bring up my family for it, and he gets sent to prison for years and pays every bit of that federal time. But who was it? Ronald Reagan sitting here in the ditch somewhere, not in the ditch, sitting here living his life, not giving a care because the war on drugs, something that he pushed into the African American communities.
But by choice,
what are you
we the one that decides
about?
it. But by choice, we the one decides to pick it up and go sell it. We the ones that decides to pick it up and go do the things that we do. It's just a given. I don't care how much crack they put in the system. I don't care, because I do know there exists with Mexican cartel. I know all of that exists, and I'm not oblivious to it. Right, through the mess, absolutely. I get that. But it is a choice in the things that we do in our community. And that's where I said we got to stop overlooking the things that we do just because people do it. That's the only thing that I'm saying. I'm not saying none of that don't exist. You're right. But what I'm saying is, like Olivia said, we don't support each other. We do not. Girl, we can go and do all of these things. I'm gonna tell you something. And this on everything that I love. And, and and other people may have had different experiences. I'm speaking about me. And I've said this on one of our conferences at work. I have gotten in my 23 years more support from the white people on our jobs than the people that look like me. And that's why I say I don't buy all this stuff that we're always talking about, the white man, the white man, the white man. What about us? What about the stuff that we do to one another? That's what I'm saying. And I'm never saying it doesn't exist. I'm saying, when do we stop saying everybody else and hold the Black person, my sister, my brother, all of this cutthroat stuff that we do to one another? We don't care nothing about cheating. Meaning, the next Black woman don't care nothing about sleeping with your husband. These are the realistic stuff that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about all that other stuff. I'm talking about the stuff that we do to one another.
But my question is, we want to sit here and we talk, and this conversation has been one of, we're saying a lot of the same things differently, and both of us aren't looking at, I feel, let me not say that. When you look at a problem, you need to look at it in its totality, not just how it affects the one and the two and all that. You need to look at it in its totality.
Right, and so we do. But today, I don't want to talk about the system. I don't want to talk about the government.
It's just a system conversation. It's acknowledging what has been to try to find a course to fix what is now. You have to understand what has been to understand what is now.
But let me tell you this, and let me make a point very quickly.
Cutthroat. That is Charles Darwinism in general.
Okay, but let me make a point very quickly in regards to that. The reason why I say that is because of what you just stated, and you just took it out of my mouth, right? The laws are the laws, and they are there to govern accordingly, right? And I'm not saying that they're set up for us. I'm not saying they're set up against us. I'm saying the laws are the laws, and they has to be there for a reason. But what I am saying, here's what I'm saying, is that overall, there are choices. Those same laws are made for me. I don't go break them. So those same laws, I'm saying we have choices as people in what we do. That's what I'm saying. Now, if I go choose to break the law, Is the law set up for me fairly? Maybe, maybe not. But guess what? I have to make a conscious choice to either do the right things so I don't end up on the other side of the law. That's my point. And I'm saying we as Black people, we're always doing stuff, and then we want to bring in the law. Then we want to bring all this other stuff that's saying what the law ain't set up for us. The Jim Crow laws, this, that, and the third. But we have choices on the way we set ourselves up to be on the opposite side of it. We have choices. Every day I wake up, I can either make the choice to clock into my job, or I can make the choice to go rob a bank. I have a choice.
Doing the everyday mundane thing, 1000%. Everybody has, and I agree, everybody has a choice in everything that they do, 1000%. We are the simplicity of black and white, and not just colors, I mean like in general, everything being black or everything being white. The simplicity of that is completely and utterly ridiculous and asinine, because there are so many shades of gray that are painted throughout our lives that if you put the just the right or just the wrong amount of black into something, you have become wrong in that choice. Where your best of intent could have been to do the right thing, but because you did the right thing, something illegal could have happened. So to sit here and act like, oh, because you had a choice to be on the right side or the wrong side, that is not right. That's not true.
But it
That's not how every
is
day.
true.
That's
You're
not
saying
true.
we don't have a
That's
choice
not
to be
how
on the
every
right
day.
side or the
That's not
wrong
how
side? That's
everything.
life.
That's not how
That's
everyday
life.
life works. It's not.
Oh
So if you
my
got to, so okay.
goodness.
So if you got to get to work, you got to get to work, right? But your license is suspended, or matter of fact, not even that. Your insurance lapsed and you didn't know. Your tag expired and you didn't know. You got in your car and you drove to work. You broke the law. You got pulled over. What if that cop doesn't give a shit? Oh, well, you a day late, so you going to jail, and we gonna do this, and we gonna do that. And now, because you had to go handle something that you didn't even intend or know that you did wrong, you couldn't go tend to it because you're in jail. You couldn't go to work because you're in jail. Now your bills can't get paid. Now you out on the street, asked out, hand out, looking here, trying to have somebody for help. Now you desperate and destitute because maybe your 2 or 3 kids don't got nothing to have at the house. They don't have a house or nothing with it. So to sit here and be like, oh, everyday life is black and white, that's a
Didn't
lie.
say
It's
that at all. But we have
it's a lie.
choices.
It's Monday.
We have
And it's
choices.
not just that. It's not just that.
If
It's not
my
just
if
that.
my
Even in
insurance
your best
lapse,
of
I want people
intent,
to
even in your
stop
best
trying
of
to
intent
act
and
like this
your
junk don't.
this
Okay, I'm gonna use that
stuff
same
happens
example.
every day. That's why people are sitting here on the side of the street.
That's right.
Literally, people are sitting
But
here
you
on the
had
side
a
of the street because they
choice.
made a
So
mistake
so
and
so what
didn't
you're
know
telling me,
something.
so what you're telling me is that people did that. People didn't get all these millions of notices about their insurance lapsing. So you made a
Some
choice. Now I'm
people
not saying
don't.
to get in your
My
car.
insurance, I'm about to say my
Girl,
insurance
my
lapsed
car,
and I didn't know. And
my.
had I not
It's been
checked the
plenty of
old
times that
email, I
my
wouldn't have known.
insurance was up to be lapsed. These people write you a million letters. These people write you a million letters. So if
Okay, never
you
mind.
by chance let your insurance lapse, whomever, that's on you. You decided to let your insurance lapse and get in your car and take the chance to drive. That's another choice. Hold on one second.
There's a whole lot of privilege in this conversation. There's a whole lot of privilege and just in complete lapse of grace. Like that is the one. Like we talk about black
Hold
people should
on.
care about each other and all this, but let alone you giving a cool example of grace not being given.
No, because I'm going to give you another example of what you just stated. So, again, that's why I say I don't buy all this white folks, black folks stuff. My son, like you said, it happened, real life.
It's not
What
just
you
white
said?
folk, black folk
So,
stuff. It's
look.
people
My
in
son got
general.
pulled over, right? Registration. I got 1,000,001 letters about the registration. I thought I resolved it. Zay gets pulled over. Black man pull him over. My son calls me. I tell Zay, I said, do everything that you need to do not to frustrate that man. Because again, black, white, green, or yellow, I know how things with the police can go bad. My son calls me back. White man pulls up. let my sons call me. I tell him that's my car, so that's not his responsibility. That's my car. So it was my responsibility to make sure everything was legitimate on that car. I'm not even sure what happened, but you see, I have a tag on my car that's legitimate. I'm not sure why the registration is not showing legitimate. You see, I have the proper insurance. You see, I have a registered tag. I'm not sure why the actual registration is not coming. That man wrote my son's ticket and let my son go. So don't tell me about white people don't do things for
I'm
black
not
people.
talking about
But give me
white
a
people
second. Give
and
me a
black
second.
people.
Give me
That's
a
not what
second.
I'm talking about.
So innocently, yes, you're right. Things happen. We get to court, talk to the judge. Judge says same thing. In the midst of it, something must have happened and crossed over. They didn't give us no fines. They didn't give us no tickets. None of that. It was thrown out, closed out. So yes, I understand. Innocent things do happen. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we forever pointing fingers. I could have easily been ranting and going in the court when I got there and saying, and y'all did this to my son, and y'all racially profiled him, and y'all did this.
That's
No,
not even what
I'm
I
holding
said.
accountability to find out what happened, because somewhere along the way, something happened and I didn't take care of business somewhere
You
along
didn't
the way.
even go according to an example that I gave.
You
I
did.
said black and white
You
choice.
say
No, I
innocent
didn't.
people.
I
You say
said
even if
that
your
there could be a
insurance lapse.
I said that there could be a situation where someone is not given grace, someone is not allowed to do it because you're sitting in jail, you're unable to do X, Y, and Z, and now you sitting here, and because of a choice, a clear, you said you had a choice. Everybody has that choice. I didn't talk about a black person and a white person. You said you said
Because
right
that's
and
what
wrong.
the conversation is about today.
So I switched it to black and white. So I said a right and wrong, and that is what I meant. Something could be right, something could be on the white, on the black side, something could be wrong, something could be on the white side. Right and wrong. You said that we have the choice as
And
African
we do.
Americans to either make a good decision or a
And
bad
we
decision.
do.
I said there are some times where, with the best of intent, you can try to make a good decision, and that good decision still end up being wrong
And I
because of
believe
simple
that. But
everyday
what I'm
things.
saying is, and
We
Jimmy,
don't. And my
J
point is,
Mill
we don't give each
2014,
other grace.
I'll let you jump in. And I do believe that. I do believe innocent things happening. But what we were literally talking about initially is deliberate stuff. And I'm gonna go back. I said we deliberately scam each other. We deliberately go rob the dope dealer that we think got all the money. We deliberately fraud each other. We deliberately, as women, sleep with other people's husbands. We deliberately cheat our own community out of the things that we know these people work hard for. I had two young boys walk up in my yard, and I had it posted on my Facebook page. Two young boys walked up in my yard to steal my car. And so the only thing that kept them from stealing my car is the fact that I got cameras and my camera made the little noise and it ran them off. So when the police comes, we finds out that they have really broken several cars in this community. We work hard in this community for the things that we have in our community. And for somebody's child, black, young boy, to come in my community and try to steal my car, I give you no grace, because I got a black son too. And what I do every single Terry day is preach to my children, my young black men, my young black son, my young black daughter, to ensure and I could bring both of them on this camera. And only thing I got to say is, what do I tell you when you go out? And what they'll say, do the right thing. Every chance I get, I'm teaching my kids to do the right thing, because it's a choice. No matter what you do, you got to do the right thing. If my son got a gun. If my son had a shot somebody's child out in that driveway, then your mom saying he didn't have to kill him. He ain't have no business in my yard.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. And we want to always talk about the white folks. No, you ain't have no business in my yard. Why is your son out this time of night anyways? These are children. I'll let you go, J Mill 2014.
Okay. Howdy, folks. How y'all doing?
Hey.
Hi.
Love
Okay.
when you're on here.
So the overwhelming consensus, because I have this conversation a lot, and it does get to a point where the conversation seems a little bit divisive. It seems like everybody's on the same awareness, but at the same time, the conversation is different due to a generational gap within there.
For sure.
If it's fully honest.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because it's like me and my mother have had this conversation plenty of times, and me and some of my coworkers. It's kind of like the scenario of, like, I tell people all the time, it's like you have a logical understanding about things, but in reality, there's a different concept. And not saying doing the right thing is the right thing, because everybody strives for greatness in doing the right thing, especially with instilling the right foundation and values within their children. But within a concept of peer pressure, social standards, ethnic standards, logistical standards, and just perception, it always doesn't. It doesn't always seem that seem fair in that concept. But what you're saying is that, like, I do agree within is like every single day we, as especially within the Black community, we need to strive to do our best, no matter what the circumstance or situation is. We have a choice within the matter every single day to be able to strive to do our best to be able to keep ourselves afloat. What I hear from B is that even with us striving to do our best, we still have a sense of this unbelief that Black people can actually rise above the occasion. And that's the issue that we have, because we still have this consensus of that we have to live in this social standards of what certain people deemed as acceptable. And it's technically, in a sense, is not fair, because within every community, rather it be something that is socialized or marketed, we live in a community where Black people's entertainment is within death, is within violence, is within sexual, like, immorality. And regardless of however we look at it, we always get viewed in a negative concept, regardless of how favorable or how much we do as a community. Now, granted, I'm not stating that that's the only image that we have to view ourselves in, but within a social standard, this is the image that people like to view us in, regardless of however we do it, because it sells, it's marketable, it's palatable towards what people are asking for, that they want to be entertained by. Now, do Black people try to rise above that and try to do better? Yes. Do we try to set ourselves apart from certain people that have a mindset that is negative towards our own? Yes. But do we still get all categorized in the same type of bubble? Yes. It doesn't, in certain aspects, it does not matter. And I have to check myself about this too. It does not matter how much I appease a social group of people. It does not matter. There's always going to be someone in there that views me as negative, regardless of however I place myself, because I'm a Black male teacher in a dominantly female arena. It's hard for me just to be able to walk myself up and down that hallway, and I have to look forward, especially as a Black man. Around white women, white Hispanic women as well too. Even in that aspect, I have to set myself up in a certain manner to where I have to present myself in a certain way. Now, granted, is it my responsibility to make other people view me in this way? No. But is it my responsibility to be able to uphold myself in a certain standard? Yes.
Absolutely. And that's what I was saying about, you cannot bring your authentic self all the time. You have to be your authentic self with a twist of professionalism, because
Yes.
people are always watching.
Yes. And even that concept is very true and it's fair. I think the issue is that even within that professionalism and authenticity, it's kind of like I have to put on this caricature of a person that I am, while this other individual gets to be their full
That's
authentic
right.
self. And it's viewed and it's shown in that way. And now the question is that fair? Because
Correct.
I can have a coworker that's full authentic to
Mhm.
herself, but still
Right.
professional, but she still gets categorized as ghetto, which I still don't understand why people still call us ghetto, because ghetto is not a person. I don't get that.
Right.
I don't understand
Right.
that concept. It's
Like
very weird.
it's not a
Like
different it's a in
code
actuality
switching, like code
the
switching.
definition of ghetto is actually like a place that you stay.
Yeah,
So it's just kind of it's a domicile.
yeah,
I don't understand what that is,
yeah,
but you know
yeah,
what?
but
To each their own.
in the concept is like it is it's tiring, it's stressful, it is draining in the concept of me being my full authentic self within giving my best at all times, because now it's like when I'm outside of my professionalism, I have to be a different person at all times. When I'm around my family, we're doing social gatherings, I can be my full authentic self. But for some odd reason, I have to be able to gain some type of respect or gain some type of insight or social status to be able to be this person that does the right thing due to a certain social standard. And I think in certain aspects of when we're talking about this concept of accountability, going back to that, it kind of shows where the lack of interest, where accountability is only set in the standard of what how do we
Hey,
hold ourselves accountable, but what does it look like to understand the concept of checks and balances in that same concept too? Where is that concept at? Because if we're holding everyone accountable to that same manner, what is the concept of checks and balances? How do we check everybody in that same category, but how do we balance it out to make sure that everyone is able to live their same authentic way? Because if we're talking about the Black community, about stealing and robbing and looting and sexual immorality and all this other stuff within just the community within itself, what do we view in the white community also at the same time too as these same concepts? Because even with our lower population, as whatever it says, I don't believe it. People just don't do the census at all. But we also have a demographic of people that have a larger platform or a larger output that do the same things, but the concept of it is just like the checks and balances do not weigh
Right.
out within itself. So now the question is that where does accountability stand within the format of looking at our standard versus looking at their standard of how they carry themselves in
Okay.
that manner?
So let me answer that. So you're absolutely right. And I don't know if you were on when I said that, because they do. They do the same things. But guess what? And from what I see, they beat the system. They fraud. Defraud the system. They taxes. They do tax evasions. They do all these crimes where they're beating the system.
Mm-hmm.
We, we do stuff where we're always beating each other. We ain't took none of the. I guarantee you, these cash app scams ain't reached none of these white folks. These daggone frauding people out of their money. You ain't trying to defraud none of these white folks. My thing is, yes, they do the same things, do in a different format. So I stated that. But what I'm saying is this: we do so much to each other that we never talk about that. We always, just like we're doing now, get the same. Well, white folks do this, and the other races do this, and did it, and they do. And I'm not saying that at all.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is, when do we stop doing that and have a conversation directly in reference to what we do to one another?
Can
That was my point. I'm not saying that other ethnicities and races don't do that. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not oblivious to that. But what I'm saying is, when are we going to? Okay, we'll get these same folks that know you sitting around here sending these cash out frauds around. We're sending the same folks that sending these same cash out frauds around. The same woman that don't care nothing about sleeping with your husband. The same woman that don't. The same man that don't care about um beating a woman out of money. The same man that don't care nothing about robbing the local drug dealer. You'll be the same one out there with your Black Lives Matter sign.
mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. But
So
you're doing all these crimes against your own, but you're saying Black Lives Matter.
okay.
So the
That I mean,
same
that's a fair.
folks that you defrauded,
That's fair.
why that they life didn't matter?
Well, so I can understand that concept in understanding the conversation of the whole Black Lives Matter scenario. I think that's more of a contradiction because even within the concept of what Black Lives Matter means is completely contradictory to the proximity crime of what is going on. So to be able to add on to what you're talking about, and this is just for me, and this is just how I view it.
Ask Lady Lava. Go ahead.
For me, I don't like the conversation of how do we hold our community accountable. The thing about it is that we don't hold our community accountable. We just blame our community on a day-to-day basis. And these
we
are the
always doing
conversations
that up stuff.
Well, I mean, it is. We do effed up stuff, but that's human. Like that's human. It's not just the simple
And
fact
that's
that
where
it's
the
just
black
like
and white
it's
and the
black.
other
Yeah, it's just
ethnicity
not just because it's
comparison
black
comes in. That's
people.
why people do
Is
this.
And I'm
it's
not
a human. It's a
white people
well,
don't do stuff.
no,
I'm
no,
not
no, 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 no,
saying
no,
that.
no,
I'm
no.
not saying that at all. And you guys keep going back to that. I'm not
No,
saying that
no.
black
That's
people,
not
that
even
white
what we
people.
just said.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying what we're talking about is that the conversation of how do we hold our community accountable. Pretty much, let's stop talking so negatively about our community.
But we do. We do
But
fucked up stuff. So when are we gonna stop? When are we gonna stop doing stuff so that we
Well, the
don't?
thing about it is, we can't. Like one thing that I've always learned is that what can you control?
We do the worst
Hold on.
foolishness.
What can we control?
And okay, the one thing is, like Livia said, we don't support each other. Several people on here have stated we don't support each other. We
The
don't.
thing about it is that
we
don't
always
give ourselves
doing stuff to one another, and so that it ain't about speaking negative. It's facts.
Well,
we do.
I understand the
We
factual
do mess up stuff.
No, I understand the factual concept about how to be able to understand about blaming, like really giving someone
That's
like
right, Sarah. I agree.
information about
There's
what's
a
going
difference
on.
between blaming and holding somebody accountable.
Well, but there is.
But in
the
this
thing about it is
conversation, I will say, just listening to just the two of you go at it, and not go at it, but the two of you converse, the difference between blaming and holding accountable, a lot of what Amanda you have done is blame, not hold accountable. But
and
I
it's just like
I haven't blamed it. I have literally been truthful to say. Now I'm gonna ask you guys these questions.
Okay.
Because blaming is meaning when I'm pointing you out and just blaming you as if you're the only one. So I want to ask a question. So accountability means, are you holding your community? Are you saying that we don't do fucked up stuff? And
that's not what either one of us have said, though.
Okay,
no.
I didn't ask you that. I asked you.
So I'll answer
That's
that.
not what we said.
Yes.
Thank you.
In the black community, there are people in our community that do fuck up things. Yes.
That's all I asked. So
okay.
I'm not blaming anybody.
I'm
truthfully saying we do fucked up stuff.
Okay, so my question is that within the concept of doing those effed up things, where do we stand as a community or as just a whole group to be able to have an actual conversation without just pulling out the negative within people?
Okay, because, and that's what, and I don't know if you was on here when I said that. Like Lava, she rallies for the local communities with what she's seeing in her surroundings. And see, I don't know if you was on here when I said that. Those are the things that I'm saying we have to do on local level in order for us to make a difference within our society. And we cannot start going at a top level if we have not started here locally, state, and national. And I don't know if you was on here when I said that, but that's what I'm saying.
That's a fair understanding, and that once again, you and I, like I said, I have to, and this is what I do with my students a lot of times. I'm thinking of the conversation in a very logical manner, but in reality, I have to dumb myself down to be able to get on their level to make them aware of it. Now, there are certain concepts and certain understandings, especially within the concept of like how people navigate certain things, especially with like age or a sense of maturity that have to be understood within the concept of certain things. But what I'm pretty much saying is that the sense of accountability has to be put into play. Yes, but the conversation is not being held in an accountable manner. It's held in a derogatory manner majority of the time. Because as you said earlier, we still have people in our community sleeping with other people's husbands. We still have other people sleeping with, like, doing fraud and doing all this. So we're talking about all the negative things, but we're not actually navigating the conversation about the solution of what those things are happening or why they're happening in the first place. Because a lot of the times what we don't establish within these conversations is that there is an issue, but we don't talk about why there is an actual issue
because
in
we
the first
have
place.
to care about fixing the cause before we give a
It's
damn about
just
fixing the effect.
like this
Because
whole
if you fix the
conversation.
cause, you
Yes,
fix the effect in its own trickle. Like
because
that has been the point of
it's
this
just like
conversation.
with
Because yes,
it's just like with
And
this
children,
I
like that
conversation was
have.
made
I
about
believe
solutions.
that. But again, B and I never got on the same page that it was even acknowledged to her in her mind that we do fucked up stuff.
That's
But
not
it's like we
true.
was
I said
pushing
that
that
from
under
the
the
jump.
rug. Like
Ma'am.
we just
No,
don't do
ma'am. That's
stuff.
what we're not
No,
gonna do.
we
We're not
do
gonna sit
fucked
here
up
and
stuff.
create
Simple.
alternative facts.
Well,
That's not true. I said from the jump, people that we as African Americans do fucked up shit. I may have not said
No, we
fucked up shit,
quickly
but I
started
definitely
saying, no, no,
did
no, no,
say
no, no,
that
no. We
we are not
quickly
right to
started
each other.
saying other
Let's not
ethnicities
do
do
that.
stuff too. That you
Yes,
shifted
because
that
it's
to protect
reality.
us. It
No, I
ain't
did not
about
shift to
protecting us.
protect. What I
We do
said
mess up
was
stuff.
we have to make sure that we are not just talking about the shitty things all the time. We cannot continue to sit here. And I even talked about, let's talk about what we'll do to resolve these things. We need to talk about caring about what's happening in our everyday. Because to sit here and say, yes, we do it, and other people do it too, that's not sitting here negating that we do it. To say, yes, we do it, and other people do it too, I started by saying, yes, we do
No,
it.
you started
Like,
by
I'm
saying
confused.
other
I would
people
love. I
do it
cannot wait till
too.
we do. I can't wait till we. No, I started by saying we do it and other people do it
Okay.
too.
Okay.
I
Okay.
can't
So
wait to.
so
let's go
I can't
back to
wait to
J
run this
Mill.
back.
Let's go back to
Cause
J Mill
baby,
2014. Go ahead. I'm
you're not gonna
listening.
give alternative facts.
so
However,
it's like I said, the biggest thing is, like, and this is what I like to talk about a lot of times too. This big thing is, like, one thing that one of my mentors really talked to me about a lot of the time is, like, there's two things that you control: is your actions and your attitude.
Absolutely.
Now,
And I
now, the issue that I have within, especially the Black community, is that we try to negate the conversation of our own actions and our own attitude.
Lava, that's what you just stated. Go ahead. I'm listening.
And it goes into the conversation of when we're having, it's like the conversation of what is developmentally appropriate, what is academically appropriate, what is cognitively appropriate, what are these appropriate manners that will make us feel like our community is moving in a better light. This conversation of, like, the husband and wife scenario, and like how to treat a boyfriend and how to treat a girlfriend and all these other things. We're always talking about the negative things, but we're not talking about the issue about why these things are so negative. And with this sense of accountability, we never go to the root problem of what a lot of these causes are. And it's not stating that what you're saying is invalid or it's incorrect or it's just not even a moral compass of what we're talking about, because morally, a lot of things that you're talking about is talking about doing the right things and understanding these concepts and doing and making sure that you put your best foot forward on a day-to-day basis is a standard of living that needs to be acceptable in a lot of ways. I also want to be able to add in there is that the lack of awareness, understanding, resources, and just ability just to have the capacity to be able to do certain things is futile within our community. It's been that way for a long time. We have been a community that have always figured things out, and that is one thing I can say about us. We have always strived for greatness regardless of the circumstances, scenarios. Have we always done the right things? No. Has any community ever done the right things? No. But we've always strived to be able to do what we feel like in our best interest is the right thing. Now, I will say that there is a capacity level of every single person to where they need it and then they just drop off. And we don't talk about that. We do not talk about the capacity of what someone has to endure on a day-to-day basis, and then where they just get fed up, where they can't handle it anymore. And then that's when it's like, if I'm handling it, like, why can't you do it? Like, I'm doing everything right every single day. I vote, I do all these checks and balances on a day-to-day basis, but we don't understand that the capacity for a lot of other people is already diminished. They're thinking about is survival. So when you think about survival, you're only thinking about how to be able to maintain a certain level of awareness and understanding to be able to get to the point of like, how do I gain to the point of like doing the right things every single day? It's a crazy concept, and it's a crazy reality that people go through every single day, but we don't really think about the bigger picture of how do people deal with combativeness, but also how do people deal with the actual struggles of the world on a day-to-day basis, to where they actually have to deal with it due to the capacity of what they've already been given. It's like household standards, like religious standards, social standards, work standards. Like, there's so many levels of capacity that people deal with on a day-to-day basis, and when we strive for these levels of like greatness and levels of awareness of like doing these right things, sometimes people drop the ball in the way that they can't carry it themselves anymore, and all they want to do is just survive on a day-to-day basis. But when we see those people that are just trying to survive the day-to-day basis, doing the bare minimum, or also doing things that's lacking integrity in a lot of ways, we automatically get to the point where we start to diminish them, but not actually figure out why they're doing these things.
And that is where my grace for the shades of gray came into my points, because you can't sit here and say that, oh, well, we need to hold each other accountable. Oh, we need to, and not just, this isn't just you, just people in the comments as well. Oh, we need to hold each other accountable. We need to do these. We need to do this. We need to do that. But realistically, when the rubber hit the road, more often than not, we're living in these shades of gray a whole lot more than we're living in the black and whites of the world, and the right and wrongs. Let me say the rights and the wrongs of the world. We're living in this maybes a whole lot more. The reality of it is your entire thought process can be to do exactly what is right all the time, but the situation that you are in requires for you to sit in this maybe space, and just that little bit of oh shit, I messed up, pushes you into doing something wrong that you never even intended. We have to sit here and give accountability. We also have to give grace. We don't want to sit here and have both of those conversations, because if we're going accountable, we're getting accountability and blaming, like Sarah said earlier, blaming and accountability are two different things. I feel like as a community, we're so, and it's because I feel like we've had so much tough love to one another, from our own, that all we give is tough love back. We're so quick to point out what is wrong instead of saying, okay, why did you do it?
You're probably
That's like
right.
when you get
Because
mad
let
with
me
your
tell you
kids.
something.
You asking what happened first. When you get mad with your man, you be like, what the like, it changes so quickly that we pull so hard that we can't have real accountability conversations, because we don't want to have grace conversations either.
But I ain't giving nobody no grace that comes up in my yard and steal my car. I'm not giving anybody's son no grace. So then when I see the rest of y'all coming, and I did say it, the rest of y'all, because my son is not grouped in that. When I see the rest of y'all coming, no, I don't give you no grace, because you have invaded my space with me, my children, and my family, when these young boys should have been at home and their parents should have been holding them accountable. So no, I don't give you no grace. And yes, I do look at you differently and really funny.
So I want to ask this question, because and this is the question for both of y'all, because this is something that was very thought provoking for me, that my pastor, who is my father, he asked me one day, because he was trying to give me an example about the conversation of grace. And it was jarring, and I had to think about it in a very mature way. So when you're talking about those men or those children that were about to rob your car, now granted, the emotion that you were feeling, which is valid in that concept, you're not just going to let someone just take your
that you worked very hard for.
Yes, worked very, very hard for. But the question is that would you talk, or would you have the same conversation with God the same way that you do with his children?
Damn.
Let me tell you this, and I will. And let me tell you why. Because my interaction with the God that I serve is
Mm-hmm.
different than the way and the relationship and the God that you serve. And we may serve that same God. But here's the
Mm-hmm.
thing. I question, and the Bible says you shouldn't. I question the things, and it's a great question that you ask. I always think the Bible is double standard anyway. So that's me. Since you opened that door, that's me.
Okay.
And so the conversation is contradictory, in my opinion, and the things that are written. I also say, in the midst of being able to be forgiven 70 times 7, however that number is, I also say that when I have my conversation with the Lord, I speak to the Lord just like I speak to you. Because again, authentically, I don't have to talk to God in a manner where I'm meek and mild. I don't have to do that. But God also has the ability to humble me in the way that
Mm-hmm.
He fits to.
Okay. That's and once again, that's a fair understanding. That's
I'm
a
about to say
fair
there's no right or
assessment.
wrong answer.
Well, there isn't. I was just asking because one thing that I've had to learn is that even within my fits of anger or fits of frustration, understanding that once again, these are also children of God, regardless of the standard of what's going on. I don't agree with a lot of people that a lot of things a lot of people say, but understanding when we're talking about the sense of accountability. And I had this conversation with my friend the other day. But no, not the other day. It was actually yesterday. I want you to take into understanding about how you hold other people accountable, but how other people hold you accountable at that same
Right.
manner. But the thing about it is that how often do you let people down within there holding you accountable to certain things to where you are holding other people accountable to that same
I
manner?
agree.
So it's just like when we're using the standard of accountability, we have to understand that there's a standard of disappointment that's automatically going to happen.
Right.
Because once again, flawed individuals, we are all understanding and being aware of that. Now, understanding and being aware of that, but just not letting things slide is a different scenario. But understanding and being aware of the circumstances, we don't talk to each other as a community. We just talk to each other as we're separate individuals altogether. We as a Black community do not talk to each other as we are a community of people. We talk to each other as we're separate individuals. And
We
that's a lot of the problem.
we
But that's a lot of the
I
problem.
agree.
We see ourselves as like when we reach a level of achievement that requires a different version of us to have to be able to associate ourselves with these different levels of demographics of people. It happens all the time. So when we're talking about this level of accountability, was this same level of accountability mandated with us when we were at a very lower level? Or is it just now we are at a new social standard within life that we are now holding other people, not want to say underneath us, but that don't meet the same standard as we are to that same level of accountability? She said, is starting to hold us accountable individually. Uh, in certain aspects, I would say yes. In certain concepts, but it's just like accountability is still vague because once again, even if we use it from a biblical standard, there's once again, you said contradictions. There are certain things within the Bible that we live in that moral standard of what accountability is. Because if we're talking about accountability, talking about the Old Testament, talking about the New Testament, talking about the new, like these things all overwhelmingly to surround ourselves within that concept of how we view the Bible and how we interpretate it within the concept of how we live our lives as just being children and messengers of Christ
Right.
altogether, regardless of how we view it. But the thing about it is that we turn it, well, a lot of times we turn into Pharisees, which is just people that just know the rights and wrongs of things. And then we just automatically just start throwing stones at people instead of living out the lifestyle that we're supposed to be living to be able to be an actual amplification of what we're talking about. We can have these conversations and deliberate and talk about these things because they're needed. But the thing about it is that once again, even though they are needed, a lot of these conversations are not amplifying the results of what we're asking for because no one's still doing anything. In full totality, even within my mother's generations, a lot of us are lazy. A lot of us
Right, but
lazy in
let
that
me say
conversation.
this, so because we're gonna have to go ahead and close out. We like almost 30 minutes over, and this is great
Oh,
conversation, and I always love when you're
I
on.
just saw the clock too.
So yeah, so I love it, and I think what we do, because in this hour we can't talk about all of it. Meaning we identified that there's an issue in our Black community. We agree that we do effed up stuff. We agree that this is across the board, not just us. We agree that there are laws in place that are against us. We agree that there needs to be some solutions to it. I want to I want to revisit this
Okay.
conversation of what resolutions looks like, and the root cause, like you mentioned, because again, yet again, we can't have that whole conversation in 1 hour, and we're already over, because it really gets, because it's really a very good conversation and dialogue to have. And I love the fact that I tell her all the time, be that she and I are able to see differences in these conversations, right? So I
For sure.
want us to come back next week and talk
Pause. I
about.
also want to put everybody in the comments at rest. We are fine. I want you, because somebody messaged me. Are y'all okay? We are fine. Y'all, we love each other for real. We are fine. We love each other for real. We can have a difference of opinion,
And that's
agree to
another
disagree,
thing. That's
and move
another
on,
thing
bro.
that I want us
We
to
are
stop
okay.
doing. I want us
We
to
are
stop doing
okay,
that,
y'all.
right? We as Black
Jesus.
people can
I had
have
so many
differences
messages.
of opinions, dialogue, conversations, and walk away okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm
I'm
talking
about to say,
about.
because if she come to my house tomorrow, I'm gonna open the door. She gonna get something to eat. We gonna talk shit and drink some wine. Like, we are just fine,
Right.
and we should be able
We
to do
gotta
that in our
understand that.
entire communities in general. Because when you
That's
love
right.
somebody for real,
And you
and
gotta
that's
be
and that's what
able
we
to.
need to get back to in our community. We need to get back to actually loving one another. Because when you love somebody, like you truly love somebody, like that is a verb to you, you are able to see, not necessarily, you may not be able to see their point of view, but you respect them for having their point
And
of
even
view. You
if they're
love them
different,
through their
right?
point of view, and that's what I said, you
Absolutely.
love them with their
That's
point
right.
of view. And most of the time when you love somebody, you take the time to understand. That's
Yep.
a part of the reason
Yep.
why when they were having their dialogue, I stopped talking for the vast majority of it, because I'm like, okay, let me make sure that I'm understanding. Because what I want to do is lead from a place of, what we want to do is lead from a place of
Yep.
understanding and a place of love, a place of compromise and
That's
compassion.
right. That's right. That's right. That's right. And I love it, because again, it points out what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta be okay, meaning in our community, of having hard conversations that
Conversations.
looks where the
Yes.
dialogue is not on the same, respect those differences, and still be able to walk away okay
At
and come
peace.
right back in peace and come right back and have some healthier dialogue next week on what that looks like in regards to resolution.
So for
You
those
got to
joining
stop
next week, do
thinking
not
that, oh,
forget,
y'all, they got the arguing on the show. See, that's the kind of stuff
we
that I'm
did not,
talking about. We got to stop
calm
that.
down.
You got to,
Calm down.
yes,
Y'all,
it is
you have no
okay.
many ideas. You have no idea how many. I had like 6 messages. Just like, are y'all okay? Is she gonna get? Are you gonna? Aren't y'all cousins? Like, yes, bro. She changed my diaper. I
And
assure you,
what
it is fine.
family don't have, and if you live in a family where you don't have tough, hard conversations, somebody is
I
hiding being
I'm
who they
about to
are.
say they are not being their true authentic self too. Cause baby, we done had it out in this Woodson Walker dynamic here. We have had it out.
Well, I apologize for making this run longer than it
No,
should.
No, 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 no.
it was
You
a
know, I
good
told you
dialogue. Like, no,
I
no.
love it. I love it. I love it when you are on. So let's next week, guys. Let's talk about the pick
Solution,
up from here and
solution,
talk about
solutions.
solutions and resolutions and what that looks like. And I
Yes.
hope you're here. So please come
Please
and
come.
send your
Talk to
and
us.
right, send it as a guest so that we can bring you on.
Also, if you have any ideas of resolutions and stuff during the week, Amanda's open. I'm open. The Talk.Queens page is open. Please message us, tag us in some videos that you see that you think really relate to what we were talking about. Remember, we are checking these daily, sometimes hourly. I'm not gonna lie, because I be at work bored. Not gonna lie, y'all. But you know, let's make sure that we're talking about solutions. Think about this for the rest of the week. Let us know what your thoughts are. Let us know what your ideas are. And don't forget that we are on all podcasting platforms.
Love you guys. I always say there's a lot of amazing people out there. If you don't want to become one, I'm passing it to you.
And please make sure that you are living every day like it is your last performance, not a dress rehearsal, because you're never going to get anything else. Please know that we love you. Please know that we are here. Please remember 7 o'clock Sunday nights. We'll be here.
Look forward to seeing you next week, next Sunday at 7 o'clock. You guys have an amazing week. Love you guys.
Bye.